There are certain conversations in football that people actively avoid, not because they're unfair, but because they're uncomfortable. And this is one of them. Because right now, despite the league position, despite the narrative, despite the excuses, it's time to seriously ask what exactly Viktor Gyökeres is offering Arsenal. Because if we strip away the reputation, the fee, and the hope that came with his signing, what we're left with so far has been deeply underwhelming, and the longer this goes on, the harder it becomes to ignore. Viktor Gyökeres arrived at Arsenal in July 2025 from Sporting for an initial fee of around £55 million, potentially rising to £64 million with add-ons. A prime-age striker, 27 years old, signed with one clear objective in mind, to be the final piece of the puzzle for a team that had finished second in the Premier League 3 seasons in a row, twice beaten by Manchester City, and then most recently by Liverpool. Arsenal fans genuinely believed Gyokeres could be the difference, the striker who would turn dominance into trophies, the one who would convert pressure into titles. And here's where the irony kicks in, because as things stand, even after a recent goalless draw at home to Liverpool, Arsenal still sit top of the league, 49 points from 21 games, a 6-point gap to second place. On paper, everything looks fine, but Viktor Gyökeres has had almost nothing to do with getting them there. In the Premier League, he's played 1,296 minutes, 19 appearances, 16 starts, and in that time, he's scored just 5 goals, no assists, 2 of those goals coming from the penalty spot. And to truly put his impact into perspective, he's scored once in his last 10 games. In fact, Gyokeres has failed to score in 18 of his 23 Arsenal appearances this season. He's also managed to go 7 separate matches without registering a single shot. Not a shot on target, not even a speculative effort. A complete attacking absence. When you break it down per 90 minutes, it looks even worse. Around 0.35 goals per 90, roughly 2 shots per game, less than 1 shot on target. And for a striker whose entire reputation is built around goal output, that simply isn't acceptable. And this is where the core issue lies. Gyokeres is an incredibly one-dimensional striker. If he isn't scoring, he offers virtually nothing else. His off-the-ball movement is poor. His link-up play is minimal. His understanding of space is rudimentary. And for a player with his size and physical profile, you'd expect him to be a constant problem for centre-backs. But he isn't. He doesn't stretch defensive lines. He doesn't drag defenders out of shape. He doesn't consistently play with his back to goal to bring others into the game. Instead, he spends most matches simply wrestling defenders for the sake of it, without any real tactical purpose. Compare that to elite physical forwards of the past, or even someone like Haaland today, and the difference in football intelligence is stark. Those players use their strength as a tool. Gyokeres just uses it as resistance. There's also the physical side of this that nobody really wants to talk about. At Sporting, when he was scoring 52 goals and registering 12 assists in 49 games last season, he looked powerful but lean, sharp, explosive. At Arsenal, he looks bulky, heavy, clunky, almost as if the mobility has been sacrificed. It genuinely feels at times like Arsenal are playing with a bodybuilder up front rather than a fluid, modern striker. And that's why the comparison with Kai Havertz is so damning. Havertz has been criticised relentlessly over the past couple of seasons, mocked, questioned, written off. Yet since Gyokeres arrived, there's a growing feeling among Arsenal fans that they'd rather see Havertz back in the starting lineup once he returns from injury. That alone tells you how poor this has been. It becomes even more uncomfortable when you compare Gyokeres to Hugo Ekitike at Liverpool. Ekitike has 8 goals and 2 assists in 13 starts this season. Gyokeres has 5 goals and 0 assists in 16 starts. The per 90 numbers only widen that gap further. And yet, despite all of this, the criticism has been relatively muted. Why? Because Arsenal are still top of the league. But that protection won't last forever. If Arsenal stumble, if they drop points, if this title challenge collapses, Viktor Gyökeres will very quickly become the focal point of scrutiny. Because when you sign a £60 million striker to be the difference maker, you don't get a free pass just because the rest of the team is carrying you. What we're witnessing here, a striker going from one of the most clinical finishers in world football to a near non-factor in open play, genuinely needs studying. And if this doesn't change soon, the uncomfortable conversation won't just be unavoidable. It'll be unavoidable and loud.